Welcome to the studio, Phyllis Taylor.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. I'm so honored and delighted to be here and have looked forward to this for several weeks now.
Well, thank you, and we're delighted. And you are also known as a prison lady.
Hi.
The title of your new memoir, which is just a compelling read.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to talk about this
All
book
right.
of yours. So you say the universe had a plan, and you worked in law for years and years and years until you didn't.
Yes.
And then Oprah Winfrey, Oprah,
Yes.
how did she play a huge key factor in the next chapter of your life?
So I worked for a very large international downtown Toronto law firm for 30 years. And at the end of my career, they had hired on a new director who, I know it's shocking, Susan, but apparently I intimidated her. Long story short, I was terminated. After 30 years, my life was packed into one cardboard box, and I was walked out in a humiliating walk of shame. Crossed the street, went to my daughter. I'll leave that part out. My daughter studied under me as a paralegal because I was teaching that course as well. And a couple of months later, it was 2 months later, I went to Oprah Winfrey's life class when she attended in Toronto, goes back about 12 years now. And they had Skyped in 6 women from a penitentiary in Indiana. And I was watching Bishop T.D. Jakes on the stage speaking about gratitude. And I'm sitting there like, who the heck knows from gratitude? I don't care about gratitude. Just get me out of here. I didn't want to go. A girlfriend took me there kicking and screaming. But as I was listening to Bishop T.D. Jakes, I started to realize that the women from the penitentiary in Indiana who had been Skyped in and were right behind Oprah were catching my attention. And I was watching them, I was studying them, and I saw the light bulbs go off as he was talking about gratitude. And the stuff he was saying started to resonate with me, but moreover, it was the women. And I thought, oh my God, I literally lunged from my chair and went, holy crap, that's what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
And you could have chosen any life career after what happened with when you left the legal field, and you chose to work in a prison system as a motivational coach and a life coach. Why?
You know, I think it has to go back to my childhood. I was brought up in an Orthodox Jewish home, and I had a dad who was ultra-Orthodox, and I had a mom who was Reformed. They didn't get along. They didn't like one another, and my father was severely abusive. In fact, when they caught me crawling out the basement window one evening to hitchhike down to Yorkville and go-go dance, I was severely beaten, and I was locked away for a year. So I can't tell you definitively, but I can tell you that I've given it a lot of thought, and I've come up with having empathy for people who are disenfranchised and perhaps wanting to make a difference in their lives. I want to make a difference, period. And so when I had that enlightenment at the Oprah Winfrey class that day, it occurred to me that my law firm had paid me out, and they had paid me out well. And they had also given me a non-competition clause, which meant we are not going to have you at another law firm. What am I going to do? 30 years in a law firm, what am I going to do? So it gave me an opportunity after all my life, and I had had financial struggles and such, and it wasn't necessarily over, but it gave me an opportunity because of the package they gave me, which is why I think it's Beshert, to go and do something that I could do. So motivational speaking, because I was a competitive public speaker, but never a motivational speaker, I just figured I could figure that out. And life coaching fell into place afterwards when the guys got comfortable with me, or the women, and they would come and they would speak to me after the class. So I call it life coaching. And then I started taking courses, more courses, life coaching, mediation. I've been taking courses all my life, and I really love learning on a continuum.
So going back to that time with your father, and you were locked up in the basement. So you also, if I recall in the book, you worked with a women's prison where they were confined, these women in solitaire, Did you talk to them about your experience? Because I would imagine that you could be empathetic to that being locked away, really.
That's very insightful, Susan, exactly. So I worked with both men and women, and I graduated from general population at Vanier Correctional Institute in Milton. I graduated to work with the women in confinement, which is also known as segregation.
Okay.
Whatever lesson I would do in general population, I would do it with them as well, only I would do it more slowly. But what they loved, and what I came to learn, was that they loved my stories and therefore me. They loved the fact that I was just another girl, that I'm human, that I have been through stuff, and that I could relate to them. And in my world, whenever I can relate to anybody, I do it because I love bonding. I love people. And that gets me everywhere I have to go. That and a little bit of kindness works for me.
Well, you composed and wrote your whole curriculum.
Yes.
That in itself.
I did.
And so in your coaching sessions, you had all kinds of, inmates with various backgrounds. I mean, how were you able to overlook their crimes? I mean, some of these are pedophiles and rapists and, quite extreme. How were you able to not judge what they had done and then treat them, to give them hope and to give them...
I don't know. I never judged anybody. I don't know how I overcame it. I know that there was one man in particular. It was very, very hard for me to work with him. But getting back to your initial comment about, I have a degree in journalism, so writing and speaking are my thing. And when I was given the opportunity to go and work as a volunteer at my very first prison, I was also told that after time, it took some time. I wasn't initially brought on to work as a permanent gig, but after time I was, and I would work, I had a husband at the time, and it was like, too bad for him, I'm going home to write. And so, write I did.
Well, of a journalist.
Right, I did. And the journalist in me just went on steroids. And so I picked topics, and everything I wrote had to be vetted by the educational director and director of volunteerism. And I wrote gratitude and building healthy relationships and forgiveness and building just whatever occurred to me that they would need in life. Okay. So I guess I have to say, I was so focused on delivering my lesson, giving them something that they could have as a takeaway, even if they were going to spend their life in prison, they still need to know how to do that. And kindness can still get you have you seen in a better place no matter where you are. So I think I was so focused on delivering my lesson and getting the message, perhaps making a difference, that I never thought to judge them to this day. It doesn't mean that I think that criminal behavior is okay. It doesn't mean that I want to be involved or the victim thereof, but I wasn't there to judge them, and I still don't.
So let's talk about how many prisons, first of all, that you worked in. There's been 5.
5.
Okay. So in your coaching sessions, right, you've got your inmates. How are they responding? Because I know that, from what you've written in the story, it was important to you to show respect, because we all respond to respect.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that these prisoners perhaps haven't been, shown a lot of love and respect and kindness. And you specifically said you shower them with kindness. So how did you build that into curriculum, and what was their response to that?
So the way that it evolved, I came in and I would deliver a 2-hour segment. So I would come in, and if I was doing, for example, gratitude, I would come in and I would also create PowerPoint slides. And I have a technical background, so I would create PowerPoint slides, which I still use when presenting at synagogues and such. And I was just focused on delivering, so it's presentation style. And we would have limited, at my height, I had 100 men in my audience, biggest audience in Ontario. And, it's word of mouth.
So let's talk about the fact that you're Jewish. Were there any Jewish prisoners that you interacted with, and did they know that you were Jewish? And what was their reaction, if so?
So I'm very Phyllis, and so whether I am here, there, or in prison, I'm still the same Phyllis. And I would from time to time use a Yiddish word and explain it. So for instance, even in my writing, if I'm using the word beshert, I'm going to say like this: divine intervention. The universe had a plan. So it was very obvious that I was Jewish. And I wanted it to be obvious. And sometimes I would make a point of saying, well, I'm Jewish, and when I was growing up, yada, yada. I did that because I felt it was important in this community, which is the prison population, that they understand who we are, because there's so much out there of diverse opinions, not all of them, as we know, favorable. I thought it was important for them to understand that someone that they had come to know and love and respect was Jewish. How could that be bad for us? And so at every opportunity, I would do that. Were there Jewish prisoners? Well, not as many as other, because there's all nationalities and colors and flavors, but there were a couple of Jewish prisoners that I did come across from time to time, and they would be so excited. You remind me of my booby, you remind me of my mummy, you're just like my cousin, you look like my aunt. And there was instant bonding, as you can imagine. And so that was kind of a plus too, because they would understand I'm someone who gets it. And so if my background was harsh and humble, their background often was worse than that. But we understood one another from the gate.
I would think, just as an outsider, that your safety might be at play here when you're in a session with all these inmates from various backgrounds, with an affiliation with crimes attached to them. How would you ensure your safety and even the safety from one another as students? And then, of course, was there any incident that happened, if you could share?
So I never felt that my safety was in jeopardy, ever. I have a very firm belief that when you walk into a conversation or a crowd, whether it's in a synagogue or it's in a prison, that when you walk in and you give these people hope, respect, and kindness, you get it back. And I had no other way of connecting with them other than giving them hope, respect, and kindness. I mean, who am I? I would come into the prison and I would say, thank you for allowing me into your home. I am on sacred ground here with you.
I love that.
And I thank you for this opportunity. Every single week. I was attacked once. Yes, I was attacked once. In 10 years, that's not bad. So let's just all calm down.
Yeah.
So this young boy, it was his first time into my class, and he didn't know the ropes. He didn't understand that everybody loved me and we were going to be okay here. And I have a rule. I want everyone to sit in a circle, so that, and it can be many circles if I have 100 men, so that I can see the whites of your eyes. No one's to be behind me. I need to be able to see the white. Not so much for my safety. I want to see if they're getting it. And I read body language. I've studied NLP. Neuro-linguistic programming. And so I want to see these men. I want to see how if the light bulbs are going off, they're reacting to me. If I need to expand more on something, contract more on something. I went to the back of the room and I said to this young boy, Hudson, I said, I need you to pull your chair into the circle. There was many, many people in the room at that time. And he was sitting back on his chair, saloon style on the back too. Like, I was afraid he was going to get hurt. He didn't answer me, he grunted. So I walked away and I thought, just give him time. Walked back 2 minutes later, because time is of the essence everywhere we go. And I said, I'm not sure if you heard me. I need you to pull your chair into the room. And he lunged out of his chair and threw it harshly against the back wall, right where he and I were standing. And the chair reverberated back on me. Before I could even think, oh my God, I couldn't even think, oh my God, I had 5 men lift him up and carry him out into the hallway, because I'm in a room with 100 men and a door is closed and no guard.
Oh my.
They carried him out, and several more, I'm going to say 2 or 3, but it's a bit of a blur now, escorted me to my chair, calmed me down, and spoke to me, because I was upset.
This is a wonderful book, The Prison Lady. So, and where can viewers get this book?
Probably anywhere that books are sold, and more specifically on Amazon globally.
Amazing.